Welcome back. Episode 126. To say 126, is it just Tata Kaksikymmentä kuusi? I feel like we talked about this. Like you don't say 100 like we do in English, right? You don't say yksi sata. You just say sata. Let me write it. Let's see if Google Translate. 126. Yeah. So Google does 126. Yeah. Oh, and because it is, we're talking about the 126th. It's Hades. Satakaksikymentäkuudes. Why did I thought that you had to change all the numbers into the weird form? I thought it was like kahdenkymmenes kuudes or something like this. Or is it like 120th? Satakahadeskymmenes. Okay, so in this case, you do, when you say the 20th, the 2 and the 10 both get, they get dest. They get this ES form at the end. But if I change it to 26, then it's only the final number that gets. I mean, I guess technically it is still the final. But I don't know how to rationalize this. Maybe there's no reason. Google's lazy. Wait, what? Sara. Wait, am I learning it the wrong way now? Saras kahres kymmenes kuudes. Well, welcome to the Saras kahres kymmenes kuudes episode of Learn Finnish with me. I'm your host, Tyler, a perpetual beginner Finnish learner. I am improving. But welcome, everybody. I see everyone here. Poyu, JF, Lorelei, 27. Good to see familiar faces. I see some mention of mosquitoes. Yeah, I am not planning on doing any, hikes right now with all the mosquitoes. Sure, in the forest. But yeah, actually I was thinking today on my run, it was quite nice because I went out this morning and it was raining. And I typically wouldn't run in the rain, but it wasn't raining too hard and it wasn't too cold. It was actually quite warm. But I thought that it's quite nice actually because the rain helps keep away the bugs and the pollen. But yeah, that's one of the problems I've had with running. Like in the summer, there can be so many bugs sometimes. I come home and I've got little gnats who have, given their lives. They've crucified themselves on in my sweat. But yeah, so it's nice to have rain sometimes to break it up. But I'm sure the rain is only going to create a boom in the mosquito and insect population, all the standing water. But I remember last year it was especially bad. We had what was it? We had a lot of snow, I think, at the end of spring. And that built up. I remember the forest was really wet. There were so many puddles throughout the forests, and I think that helped the mosquitoes. But yeah, I don't know. What's it like where you guys live? How are the mosquitoes? So in this case, just to double check with you guys, Lorelei, you're saying Google is lazy. So is this incorrect for the numbers? And also, you know what? We could also see this numbers. How can we make Finnish numbers shorter? Yeah, right. uh there's a Finnish spoken language numbers. Y, ka, ko, kahdeksan, yhdeksän, yhdellä, kahdella. Maybe we should learn that. Comparison of the inflection of numbers. Viisi viides. Viidessä versus viidennessä. Kuutena versus kuudentena. Oh, what the? The names of numbers in Finnish. You have separate words that refer to the names of numbers? Number 7 is seiska. What? Oh, and I think this is the ordinal numbers, right? First, second, third, 126. So actually, this might be worth checking. Like higher numbers. The ordinal numbers in the cases are especially challenging for bigger numbers, with the amount of syllables suddenly rising from 20. Oh my gosh. Yeah, kahdes. Kahdestoista. Wait, kolmastoista. What is that? What is... Like 13? This is like 11th, 12th, 13th. Oh, it's just showing me for... What? It's just, yeah, it's just showing me the whatever, the breakdown. Oh, it's literally written here in the header or the subheader. 11, 12, 13. I was wondering, like, how does this make any sense? Oh, no. Oh, no. What? This is how you say the 21st. That has more than 21 letters in it. That is ridiculous. You're supposed to, you know, you're not supposed to make, like, count the numbers with letters, all right? That's not... Kahdeskymmenes ensimmäinen. But yeah. Wait, something, Lorelai, your mom täyttää tänään 76. So wait, it's like your mom, did she turn 76? Is that what that means? Täyttää. Forget that. Ja lähden huomenna sinne päin. And then something tomorrow. You're going tomorrow to visit her? Is that what that means? She turns 76 today? Hold on, let's come over to Google Translate. Yeah. I don't know why. Let me look at this. What are the... To fill up. To turn, like to reach a certain age. Okay. Hän täytti 25. Well, Lorelai, happy birthday to your mother. How don't you, to say happy birthday in Finnish, don't you say like paljon onnea? Oh yeah, hyvää syntymäpäivää. You know why I got it confused? Because I was thinking of the happy birthday song in Finnish. You also, right? Isn't the happy birthday song translated into Finnish just paljon onnea? Or am I tripping? I don't know. The other day, guys, the past few, like week or so, I've been running paljon onnea vaan. Hold on, let me see that. What does the Vaughn do at the end? Just means Good luck. You're going there on holiday? Going to your mom's? Um, I was gonna say something about how yesterday, or the past few weeks, I've been running and really enjoying the flowers. And on my runs, I've noticed there's this one type of flower that's just so beautiful. It's called a lupine or lupin, and actually is a relative of a flower I grew up around in Texas. It's like our state flower is called the bluebonnet. And I'm like, man, these flowers are so beautiful. And then I looked them up, and it turns out they're like an invasive species here. And the original flower is from America, and I was like, I can relate. I like these flowers more now. Like, yeah, that's right. The most beautiful flowers in Finland are the invasive American ones. But apparently they're from like the Northwest in America. But there's like, I think they're from other parts as well. And different, there's like many varieties of them, but the lupine, what we call it in English. I can't remember what it was called in Finnish. Much luck, yes, for the birthday. Oh, in Finnish you call it lupini. Yeah, yeah, lupine. Yeah, it's interesting. It actually comes like this word in English, or I guess in English, but the name of the flower comes from the Latin word for like a wolf. And I think I looked this up to see like what the yeah, oh yeah, lupin. This is the flower, by the way. These are the flowers. And they're really beautiful. They come out and like they're blue, and some of them are pink and white. Hey, they're red, white, and blue. It's like nature knows this is the American dream. Here. They're really popular along the roads, like, but they are an invasive species here, and they do outcompete native wildflowers and plants, so they can be a problem. But anyways, I don't know why did I mention that? I can't remember. I was thinking about running and flowers or something. But yeah. But hold on a second, wait. I missed some other stuff. Um oh yeah, they're trying to get rid of those flowers. The the lupins. But yeah, the kind that we have actually, let me show you, is the blue bonnet. This is the kind that we have in Texas that I grew up with. And when they're in bloom, they're like the fields are just covered with them. And that's when all the families will go out and get their family portraits and pictures. It's a good time for photographers. Uh, all these wildflowers. Yeah. Hey JS, welcome in. How are you? What? Olikin eilinen keskustelu Discordissa, ettei ole streamia. Something about yesterday and in the Discord there wasn't a stream. There was a discussion yesterday about there being no stream. Hey, I only commit to Tuesday and Thursday for my streams, okay? But to be fair, I did say on last Thursday or Friday that I was thinking I wanted to do another Terraria stream because I'm almost done with Terraria. But then it didn't end up working out for me to be able to stream on the weekend. And so then on Monday, someone had had asked, I think someone from who had followed the Terraria streams and was curious because I did a Monday stream last week on Terraria. But I have a new idea. Once we beat Terraria, I might go back to Stardew Valley because I have an idea for a challenge to beat the game, doing a challenge I'm inventing called the Granny Challenge, where you have to play like a grandma. And first of all, you have to remember everyone's birthday, and you have to give them a loved gift. And if you don't, there has to be some punishment that you have to perform. And you also have to complete every help wanted quest and special orders board when it shows up. And if you go to the mines or Skull Cavern, you cannot take any damage. And if you do take any damage, you have to despawn all the items from your inventory and exhaust yourself to like wake back up the next day on the farm. And so there's like, because you're a grandma, you've got frail bones, and I think it would be pretty fun to play with those sort of rules to challenge and sort of force you to plan. And I'd have to be very careful and strategic going into the mines to avoid taking damage from enemies, because I usually play just like, I don't know, just you can just tank so much damage in the game, especially if you're eating foods to help restore your health and energy. But yeah, I think that would be a pretty fun way to try something new. But anyways, that's a discussion for another time. I don't know if I'm fully committing to it, but the idea came to me, and I might try something like that. Go back to Stardew, where it all started. Punishing grandma is not nice, JF. Well, we're punishing ourselves. I mean, we're playing as grandma, but we have to respect grandma, all right? So we have to play in such a way that respects grandma and her fundamental need to give gifts to everybody, to remember everyone's birthday, and to not take any damage. So, I guess she's not being punished so much as she just needs more time to recover after taking damage in the mines. And she can't carry anything out because, yeah, she stubbed her toe. Oh, JS, coming back to what was said earlier in the stream about shorter words for numbers. Yeah, we were looking at stuff like that. I was looking at the numbers here to get a better idea. Oh my god. If you like, how do you say anything? This is crazy. I mean, this is where the Finnish language, my gosh. This is insane. Like, I would understand. I would be willing to compromise. Look, do not call me an unreasonable man. I would compromise if we only changed the end of this. I mean, even Google Translate was telling me earlier, like, just don't change all the numbers. You don't have to change, because it would be like we would say the 100th, 20th, 6th, like 126th, the 100th, 20th, 6th episode. That's the equivalent of how it would sound in English, like constantly, so and then it's not just the what is this, the ordinal number, but if you want to use the ordinal number in a sentence in any case, you have to also change the case ending for every number. Kolmannen. Wait. Kahdennessa, kymmenennessä, kolmannessa. I can't even keep up with the number of vowels here, or syllables. Crazy. So 1 to 5 are just used when counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, some dude on YouTube predicts popular culture of 2030s will be very boring. Grandma Theft Auto game will be coming out then. Hey, look, I have a weird uh what's the word for this? I'm drawn to role playing as an old person. There's something about old people I find so there's like the wisdom of the ages with the snarkiness that old people can get away with, you know? Like the movie Up. Carl Fredricksen is one of my favorite characters from any movie ever. That the grumpy old man. It'd be fun to role play as a grandma in Stardew Valley. But yeah, that'd be cool. Grand Theft Auto could have a grandma mode. Oh, but I was thinking about Grand Theft Auto today and how much fun it was to play like Vice City and San Andreas back in high school, and how like that was like the first kind of open world game I think I ever played on console, the GTA Vice City. And I loved it. I loved doing the missions and like expanding and gaining access to new parts of the city and newer like other cars and weapons and things that you can get. And the story was really well written for such like a small game. If you compare Vice City to like modern, you know, whatever open world games, it was pretty small, but a lot of fun. Anyways, I know I'm like going off on the rails, off of the rails. Uh, my tangent has gone so far, it's gone back on the rails eventually. It's like going around in a circle. What was I gonna do today? I was reading some of y'all's comments earlier, and I didn't get to this one. Lorelai, your first comment. I'm gonna put it in the Google Translate, but I'm not gonna look at the English yet. You wrote, "Olin viime viikkona konferenssia Vustajana." Basically, I was at, what is this? Avustaja. Is it like you were, why do I feel like that means an opener? Like you were the opener at a conference? Or a presenter? Is that maybe what it means? But yeah, so last week you were at a conference as a presenter. Jos ei lasketa mahdollista allergiakohtausta ja kellan aiheuttamaa kriisiä, niin oli ihan mukavaa. If something possible allergy something, it's like I recognize a lot of these words, I don't remember the meaning. And Kella's issue or cause, there's some sort of crisis, was quite nice. Mukava. You were a conference assistant. Okay. You were a conference assistant last week. If you don't count the possible allergy attack and the crisis caused by Kella, it was quite nice. Well, I'm glad you're a glass half full kind of person, Lorelai. Oh, I hope the Kella situation is working out and that the allergies aren't so bad. I hate allergies. This year, my allergies have not been that bad. I did have like a week of tough allergies, but I've had much worse allergies, I feel like, in years past. But yeah. The numbers written out look ridiculous, JS. Yeah, I guess it's true. You typically would just write the actual whatever number, whatever. What is that called? The numeral the Arabic numeral. Uh, but then you just know to say the word. You know how to say the word in the number in all of these weird configurations. That's insane. I do remember when I first moved to Finland, someone warned me about the numbers. Like I didn't even know how crazy the numbers would. It's weird because the numbers in Finnish are actually pretty logical compared to numbers in other languages, like French. I mean, not that it's like completely illogical, but there's some weird stuff in French, you know. Finnish seems very consistent in the way it, increases the numbers. But then it just, you guys, you couldn't give us a break. You couldn't give the rest of the world a break. You know, you had to come up with some weird way of saying the numbers. uh, it's almost as if people, like ancient Finnish people, when they were talking, didn't use numbers. And that numbers were just invented much later and sort of retroactively added to the grammar. Because there's no way that is a natural way for numbers to evolve. Like, surely at some point in the hundreds or thousands of years, people would have been like, all right, we need to simplify this. And maybe that's just my bias, probably. Your taste buds were swelling and it felt weird. I don't think I've ever had that kind of allergy, but I'm sorry to hear that. JS, especially with a number with many digits. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it can be tricky in English as well. I mean, any language, right, where you've got like 1,642,365,163. You're like, right? I guess to be fair, it gets harder in any language, I guess. It could have been allergy, stress, or hormones. Well, hang in there. Babylon used base 6 when counting or something like it. Yeah, it is kind of weird to think about how what seems it is kind of crazy how different some humans have lived. If you really think about like if you were born thousands of years ago, right, in like some other part of the world, everything would be different. Like even just how you relate to others, the social structures, the culture, the beliefs, not just the language, obviously, but like how you even go about living and relating would be so different. Even though you're still fundamentally human, right? You would still, I think, have a lot of the same like instincts, but just the culture, like it's crazy to think of like what it must have been like to have lived in like among the ancient Mayans or the Incans. Um, or go back, to where the cradle of humanity in Africa, and 100,000 years ago, what it would have been like. I had this thought that I'm like, I wish somebody would like, I don't know if this is even possible, but I'm like, what did nature look like? Like okay, we have lots of animals that have very clear niches of like what their environment looks like. But when you think about humans, what is our natural environment, or what was our natural environment? Because I often hear like, I think of savanna. I've heard that's like the natural environment. But I'm like, I don't really know. And is that, I don't know. That's why I was like, I wish somebody would make a depiction, even like an artistic representation of what nature would have looked like for humans, you know, whatever, a couple 100,000 years ago. I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but. Back to live. Now you speak almost as slowly as a drunk person after the 2x speed. I've noticed that if I watch YouTube videos and I'm like going at like, I don't know, 1.2, 1.5 speed, and then you switch back to normal speed and it's like, oh my God, do we actually talk this slow? This is awful. 1.25 at the very least, please. Well, my Finnish is in 0.025, like, and still completely unintelligible. At this point, we are pretty far from our natural state. Very true. Yeah. I sometimes I wonder. I'm like, how? Like, if you took the happiness test that we have today, like that, the Cantrell ladder of like rate your life on this ladder. How happy are you? I wonder how people would have responded, you know, 100,000 years ago. I guess it would kind of depend, right? But like all of these like modern conveniences that we take for granted, like running water and toilets, you know, stuff like that. Like, what would they think of that? Would they think it's a bit ridiculous? Would they be like, no, I much prefer pooping in the ground. This is insane. You know, or like, I much prefer to get my water from the river, you know, or wherever they get their water. Though I imagine back then, things were a lot cleaner. Like you couldn't do that nowadays, right? A lot of the water sources in nature are kind of like polluted. You wouldn't really be able to trust it. But then again, I remember reading that like most people back, I think if I was reading about the Incan Empire a few years ago, and I remember it saying that like from the bodies that were discovered, they had evidence of like stomach worms. So like pretty much everybody, because they were drinking the water, they all got whatever tapeworms or whatever. And that was just like normal. Like everybody had tapeworms. I'm glad I don't. I'm glad that's not part of my life, you know. I'm glad for certain modern conveniences, certainly. But yeah. Maybe some more problems with base needs. Yeah. Though I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe we've tricked ourselves a little bit. Like, I feel like maybe if you were in like a tribe, like life wouldn't have been that hard. Like it wouldn't have required that much work to meet your basic needs. And you would be living in like a much more tightly knit society, you know, so your relational needs would be met in a way that is very difficult for modern society to me. So that's why I feel like people would respond with a happiness much higher. Maybe we might be surprised the happiest nation that ever existed was 100,000 years ago in a small tribe. Right? Like just people vibing out in nature. What about the Finnish, Lorelai? All right, you guys got me. Look, you know what? I was doing so well. You know, look, and we're only 34 minutes into the stream. We haven't gone too far. But you could say I was having a little existential moment. All right, let's go ahead and try and translate this. Kotihoito. This is home care, right? And isn't there like a this, I think this refers to like when families are paid to keep their children at home, I think, where it's like they're given a supplement to help with keeping their kid at home or something like this. It might not mean that. I could be totally wrong here, but let's continue reading to see the context. Aluksi asia kotihoidosta. Because I feel like I remember they were saying they've lowered or removed the allowance, the home care allowance. Because it's different from daycare. That's what I remember. Päiväkoti is daycare. And then kotihoito is like home care. A visiting person taking care of elderly. So it's not children. It's for the elderly then, Lorelai. Thank you. Long ago, people died much younger. They had less hit points back then. Yeah. Oh, well, that's the other thing. I'm like, sometimes I think we have a bias to agrarian societies. I feel like people in early agrarian societies lived a lot. They died a lot quicker. I don't know about like the hunter-gatherers. But I don't know. I don't have the information off the top of my head. But it's like a lot of diseases proliferated as more people came together in agrarian societies, and their diets were also much less diversified. So they were much more susceptible to famine and other diseases. So like agrarian society enabled larger populations, but like shorter lifespans. Also, I think agrarian societies became more warlike. Because I don't know, I can't remember, and I'm sure there's nuance to it. But okay, aluksi asia kotihoidosta. The first topic is about home care. Kotihoidon hoitajien työmäärä on usein suuri. The home cares. Yeah, hoito and hoita are kind of like similar words, but and then there's like huolto. There's like a bunch of words that kind of all mean care. But anyways, a hoitajien, it's like home cares, like carers, because it's a plural genitive. Work amount is often large. I guess in English it would be better to say the workload for home care nurses or home care workers, home care providers, is often large. Oops. Here, I'll go ahead. Let's just see how we're doing here with this. Domiciliary care. What the hell? I do not approve. This looks like the weirdest. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but to me that seems so weird. Home care. Yeah, the workload of home care workers is often heavy. I didn't look at the English for the next sentence, by the way. You just gotta trust me on. Hoito, hoita, hoitaya. Like, this is also something in English. We don't like to repeat the same word in the same sentence or in consecutive sentences. So it's like a home care carer. Somehow we naturally want to avoid saying stuff like that in English. Reusing the same word multiple times. Sometimes it can lead to like more awkward sentences or phrases just to try to avoid that. But Finnish, you guys don't care. You're like, just double, triple them up. The home care carers cared for the careless. Yle kysyi hoitajilta, minkälaista kotihoidon arki on. I don't remember what arki means, but Yle surveyed the workers, the home care workers, about how or what kind of home care something is. They asked the caregivers. That's a good word. Yle asked caregivers what their daily lives are like in home care. So arki is like daily life, right? I do recognize that word. Yeah. Yle surveyed caregivers what their daily life is like in home care. How did Google? Yeah. Though in Finnish it's like what their everyday working life is like, maybe. Because this is genitive. Keep in mind, Selko Uti said, is also for those with reading and comprehension problems, so repeated things might be explained by that. Oh, okay. So it might be more exaggerated here than in other Finnish articles. Also, specifying home care nurse instead of just nurse. Yeah. Vastauksia tuli yli 500. The responses came from over 500. Over 500 responses were received. Hoitajilla on usein kiire. The caregivers are often busy or in a hurry. Hoitajalla voi olla yli 20 kotikäyntiä päivässä. Hold on a second. I don't know what is kotikäynti. I think now I understand. It's like a home visit, right? A caregiver can have over 20 home visits per day. Is that what it's saying? Let's see. Nurses are often busy. A nurse may have more than 20 home visits a day. Boom. But yeah, I'm saying caregiver, but it can also be translated as nurse. Because it's confusing, because like in English, a caregiver doesn't have to have a medical qualification. Like you could refer to a family member as a caregiver, if they're helping with whatever. They might not be, obviously they aren't providing like medical whatever, but yeah, you would call like family members caregivers if they assist. Nurses are like trained, and there are different types of nurses as well. Is hoitaja, does that just mean a nurse? Omais hoitaja. Let's look. Let's see what Wiktionary has to say about hoitaja. Right, so here it's a caretaker, a caregiver, or a nurse. I feel like in English, a nurse is a subset of caregivers. Like, even a doctor could be considered a caregiver. But typically, yeah, it'll be like the nurses, and then you might have nurses who you wouldn't really think of as caregivers, right? If you're a nurse in like an emergency response, it's like you're sort of assisting with operations, I don't know, like certain medical procedures that are like, it's not like you're giving care, you're like providing life-saving treatment. I don't know. It somehow there's a difference in my brain. I guess if you're a nurse, you're still a caregiver even in the ER. I don't know. I don't know how how nurses self-identify, but uh but yeah. Anyways. Oh yeah, when you do the nursing of your relative, omais hoitaya. Ah, that makes sense because oma means like yourself or oneself or one's own, I think, right? Because you can also say itse, which is like yourself. Earlier today, JS, you listened to Grammar Girl about caregiver versus caretaker. They're synonyms, but caretaker has more meanings. A caregiver, yeah, I would say so as well. Because when I think of a caretaker, you could also have like a someone who takes care of non-human things, like a graveyard, right? Like graveyard keeper, caretaker. That was a pretty fun game. That was so long ago we played Graveyard Keeper. Man, time is passing too quickly. uh, it's like there's so every year I feel like in abstract a year seems like a long time to get stuff done, but in reality there's only so many books you can read or so many games you can play, so many goals you can accomplish, and time just flies by. It is really strange that the universe is like billions of years old and possibly could last for trillions, and we are only given this brief flicker of an instant in the time span of the universe. What the heck? Now it's like I can see why it's so appealing to believe like in religion, like in an afterlife, especially if you're like, yeah, well, it makes sense because we get to chill, for eternity in perfect bliss. And if you're a Mormon, you might believe in like having your own planet. Right? Like don't there's like, yeah. Dude, send me to Valinor, all right? Send me to Valinor, the land of the gods or the demigods in Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, Middle Earth. Omais comes from Omainen. Omainen is a near relative. Oh, there's another word for relative I always forget. It starts with an S. What word is that? A relative. It's like Sukulainen. Thank you, JS. Thank you. The caretaker refers to a powerful entity in Star Trek Voyager. I've never gotten into Star Trek. I've never watched it. What is it? In one Finnish police video, they say, "Ei muita omiaisia kuin viranomaisia." What? Something about not remembering or not thinking of one's own than what? Here, I'm gonna translate it. All right, I got this. The Finnish dyslexia strikes again. No. Oh, muita means other. Why did I think it was like muista? Why do you guys keep tuning back in? Why do you watch my stream every Tuesday? I'm like a broken record of mistakes. I don't know. Maybe you get some weird power trip out of it. You like seeing me struggle at something that is so easy for you. Is that fun? No relatives other than authorities. That honestly sounds like out of Reno 911. I don't know if you watched that TV show. That was such a good TV show. It was so good that some people thought it was real. They thought it was an actual documentary of American police in Vegas or in Reno, Nevada. Oh man, there are so many funny characters and skits that they did on that show. It was so ridiculous. But they would totally do that. They're like no relative, like because some of the people they would encounter on the street were like they were like recurring characters on the show that the authorities had to deal with. Anyways, what am I talking about? So they can make up to 20 visits in a day. That's crazy. That's a lot. Työtä lisää myös se, että osa asiakkaista on heikossa kunnossa. I'm so lost. I'm like trying to translate this in my head and none of it makes any sense. Something about the work increases also because, or I don't know, the se että. I'm just gonna say maybe it means it's another way of saying like so that or because part of the customers something are too weak to travel, right? Oh wait, let's just translate it here in the browser. The work is also increased by the fact that some of the clients are in poor health. Okay, for some reason I was thinking this is like to go. But in this case, no, it's just like they're in poor health. I did see heikko, which means weak. In this case, it means like poor. And kunossa is sort of, it's not health, but it's like how's it going, kind of like going poorly. They are in. Actually, I don't even know. I'm probably not translating this the best. Kunto on heikko. Okay, kunto is the word. Thank you. Yeah, not to travel, Lorelai. I said omiaisia. Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, oh, the e muita omaisia. I said omi. Look, you can't hold it against me, Lorelai. Even if you point out my mistakes, it's kind of like, I don't know. I can't even think of an analogy for what it's like. It's like someone who plays music by ear without even thinking, trying to teach somebody how to play piano and just being like, how do you not know like that why are you pressing that key? That's clearly not the note you're supposed to play. But it's like I don't have your perfect pitch knowledge. And yeah, Reno 911 is a parody of the show Cops. Yeah. It was a good parody. He pärjäävät. That makes me think of the word for a pear, like the fruit. Pärjäävät kotona huonosti. They are doing something at home poorly or badly. Huonosti. Let's translate. They are not coping well at home. They are suffering. Let me look this word up. Pärjäävät. Pärjätä. to be fine, to cope, to manage, to hold one's own. Yeah, they are coping poorly at home. Do note Pariata versus Pariata. Let me look up Pariata. What does that mean? To disparage, to revile, to defame. Where were we? Kotti hoidon hoitajien työmäärä on usein suuri. We already had this sentence earlier, but it's, yeah, the home care nurses or caregivers workload is often large. Yli 100,000. Is that right? 100,000? Is that how you say? 100,000 suomalaista saa apua kotihoidosta. Over 100,000 Finnish receive help in home care. 100,000 out of what, 5.5 million? 100,000. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Sähköpotkulaudat. What? Well, sähkö means like electronic. Like sähköposti, your email. But this, I remember learning the word potkut, but I don't remember what it means. I feel like potkut, no, I do remember potkut means like to dismiss, to fire, or to be like the firing of somebody, the dismissal. And it's like irtisanominen, right? But potkut is a bit more like informal, right? Hey, DV, welcome in. But Lorelai, you're allergic to calling them skuutti? What? What is that? Wait, calling who? Skuutti. Potku is a kick and lauta is a board. The electric kicking board. Is this like a scooter? Electric scooters. Oh, that's why you said skuutti. They're scooters. Skuutti. Sähköpotkulaudat. Oh yeah, lauta. I would, yeah. Now that you mention it, I recognize that, but for some reason I'm thinking of like laulu, like to sing. So I had no idea how to translate the last part of that word. But yeah, e-scooters, I guess, would be in English. You know what? I had an e-scooter when I was in high school, and it was dope. All right. That was before we had any of this bird nonsense, none of this lime crap. We had one of the OG electric scooters you could get in the early 2000s. And we treated it like the dangerous device that it was. Okay, we wore helmets. And I remember riding that thing around my neighborhood. Man, those were the days. Those were the days. You would charge that bad boy up, take it out. It was fun. You're thinking of getting an e-bike 27? The last sentence does contain skutele. Yeah, skutele on sattunut. But yeah. Oh, it's also here in the third sentence. Skuteja. All right, let me... So sitten uutinen sähköpotkulaudoista. That means the next news is about e-scooters. Electronic scooters. Okay, sähköpotkulautojen säännöt ovat tiukentuneet. I have no idea. There's something about säännöt. What? Is that like Santa? Why do I feel like that means like a saving? No, that's like Sasta. Santa is something else I can't think of. A rule. A rule. I remember. Because Santa has lots of rules. All right. That's how you remember that. All right. So the electronic scooters regulations are tightening. Tiukentuneet, right? Now, this is just context. I actually don't know. So let's translate it. The rules for electric scooters have become stricter. Yeah, säännöt is regulations. Thanks, Elon. Welcome in, by the way. Good to see you again. Sähköpotkulautoja, eli skuutteja koskeva laki on muuttunut tänään. So the e-scooters or scoots. E-scooter is already, I don't know if there's a shorter way of saying it in English. My e-scoot. The e-scoots koskeva. I'm thinking of Koskenkorva. Is Koskeva an abbreviation? You know, street lingo for Koskenkorva? No. But hold on a second. I remember there's like Koskea, which means like to either to affect. Yeah, it means to affect. But Koskeva, I don't understand this ending, this VA ending. So that's why I'm also really stumped. But anyways, it's saying that the law, Lucky, has changed today. And this is weird because this is partitive. Plural. Partitive plural. So I would expect this to be in the genitive if it was modifying a word like regulations. But koskeva. Oh, here it's saying koskea regarding. By it saying, I mean Elon. Elon is saying. Thank you guys for helping me in chat, by the way. You dislike the actual device JS, or rather how users use them and discard them. Yeah. Look, back in my day, the scooter was personal property. You know, we took care of it. And, you know, yeah. But yeah, nowadays, the Lime scooters and whatever, they've created such a problem for public spaces. And you see little kids riding them 2 to 3 at a time. Mostly teenagers do that. But still. Oh, Juhannus is coming up. Oh my god, how is it already midsummer? Honestly, this has to be the fastest year I've ever lived. I honestly feel like January was just a few weeks ago, 1 month ago, right? I do not feel like it is midsummer. I'm not ready. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, the rental devices, like, I mean, not all, I don't think rental devices are like inherently bad. I think part of it is just the way those companies operate and the budgets that they have. Like, part of the problem is the economics on the investors end, where they are just pumping so much money into a bet, right? They're betting that if they just take over this market, there'll be a big payday, like with how Uber, was super cheap in those early years. And so I feel like there's just a lot of money that's been lost. And it's almost kind of like wealthy people paid money to make society objectively worse as a bet. Okay, maybe it's a little more complicated than that. There's worse ways money can be spent. You know, there are actual criminal, gangs that, but, uh, yeah. Part of the problem is, I don't know, the whole, what is it, the way startups have to grow. But yeah, anyways, let me come back to you guys here in chat. Wait, Lorelai, mostly cola and chips for you and staying awake. That's true. I need to make a Yuhanus. I need to get some chips in hummus, and maybe like, yeah, some good movies. You hate to admit how much you enjoy writing them, DV. It's okay. All right, it's okay. There's some expression for this, like, if sin wasn't so fun, nobody would do it. Right? Satan's got to have something to make sin appealing. But no. But yeah, their own devices might be boosted and travel too fast. Yeah. Now, DV, you're taking other forms of transport. I don't even own a bike. I've thought about getting a bike, but I don't really need a bike for practical reasons, because like the public transportation is plenty. But I would like to have a bike, I feel, at the very least, because I would like to train a bit with a bike, because I like running, but sometimes I might have little issues in my Achilles or my knee or something, my foot, that prevents me from going out for another run. But it would be nice to have another type of physical activity like cycling. I've thought about getting a bike. But I don't know. There's other things as well I want to get. Like, I have thought about getting a PC, because there are so many games I can't play because I have a Mac and a freaking Nintendo Switch. It's funny, like, I don't regret my Nintendo Switch. But now seeing the Switch 2, it almost makes me regret the Switch. I'm like, I don't know. Nintendo, we always knew Nintendo was like kind of a crappy company. But now it's just like, oh my God. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I kind of feel like, you know what? I want to get a PC, especially because there are games I would like to play, like older games that I can't access on Mac. Or if I try to do it, like, it's just going to be really complicated. So I thought about building a budget gaming PC just for that. Take a look at the Lankelasi MG600 Lite. Relatively cheap and has all the bells and whistles as more expensive bikes. Yeah. Post a link in the Discord, because I won't remember from the chat. I'm not. But Swedish calls midsummer midsummer. And time speed seems to speed up as you age. I think about, like, my grandma must be living at light speed. It's fast for me. I can't imagine what it's like when I'm like 85, it is strange to think that, I mean, I'm halfway to 70. I'm more than halfway to 70. That's crazy. I didn't sign up for this, you know? Can I get on a different life subscription plan? I'm deciding that whatever 80 to 100 years isn't enough. Is there like a Numenorian plan? Could I last for like maybe 300 years? That would be nice. Is there a Methuselah plan? Was it Methuselah? Isn't that crazy that in the Bible, people believe there was a man that lived like over 900 years? Hey, don't question it. It's in the Bible, all right? There was a man who lived and there's not much said about Methuselah, by the way. I would just like, a man lives over 900 years, and there's nothing said about him except that he lived long. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but Methuselah, I just remember the name. 900 years old. I think it was partly because like they were trying to figure out how long it had been since Adam and Eve. And they were calculating the numbers, and like I think someone messed up. They're like, oh yeah, no, that was God told us. Or maybe because it's so long, it makes it more believable from supernatural explanation. If it was just normal lifespans, who cares? But yeah, it wasn't. I think that's also part of the doctrine that like before the flood, before Noah's Ark, people actually did live much longer. And in a weird way, it does mirror some of the world building in Middle Earth with the Numenorians. That the kings lived the longest in the early days of Numenor, when they were on very good terms with the Valar and the elves, and they lived wisely. But then they like fall away from that, and their lives start to diminish, and they get shorter. Some of the kings have shorter lifespans, etc. And then Aragorn has a long lifespan after that. Okay, what am I? Look, we've hit the main topics. We've had an existential crisis. I've already mentioned Tolkien multiple times. I talked about the Bible briefly. Oh. But yeah, wait, I'm gonna get back. You guys were saying some good stuff about the scooters. Rental bikes are different. E-scootering is just lazy mode. Yes, I totally agree. But like, yeah, those, especially bikes that are like maintained by the city, I think those are great. I've never used any of the other kinds of bikes. I've only ever used like the city bikes, the Helsinki city bikes. But yeah, you don't like the way they can exploit our public urban spaces without paying anything. Yeah, I agree. And that's, I think that the whole public sentiment has changed around that. And I think that's also why these rules are getting put in place or tightened. You have no sense of balance, Lorelei, so you refuse trying to ride one. I don't blame you. They are pretty dangerous. Yeah, Yuhanus and Summer Solstice happen on the same day this year. Okay, yeah, they're always close, right? If you would put up any kind of stall selling whatever, authorities would be calling the quits really fast. Yeah, it's like, yeah, how is it that some company, these e-scooter companies kind of get away with renting them out? But yeah. Elon, you'll get crazy because there's no darkness at night. It is a weird feeling when it's like 10, 11 o'clock. And I look outside and I'm like, there's still light in the sky. The sun isn't out, but it's like twilight. It is weird. It is really weird. Cognitive processing is to do with the time speeding up. Yeah, that's my cognitive processing is it, people say that learning languages keeps your brain young. I disagree. I think my brain has aged. Like it has calcified because of Finnish. And or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's the complete opposite, that the struggle, the extra struggle I'm having is maybe keeping it younger in the long run. I just don't get the benefit of actually being able to speak a language. uh, you finally continued playing Bloodborne, JS. I've never played Bloodborne, but I've heard it's a favorite for many. And yeah, it is sad, Lorelai, when kids get, yeah. I don't think it's too often, but yeah, recently a 12-year-old got hit by a car while driving one of the scooters. Yeah. 50 is closer to us than 20, DV. Oh, I don't like that. That is weird. Because I feel like when you're 50, you're old. You're not old, but you are old. You can be 40 and still be like on the verge of your middle age and 40, right? Like you're solid middle age. When you're 30, you're kind of like still in your 20s, you know? But then you hit 35 and you're like, no, I can't really say I'm in my 20s anymore. Now that I'm closer to 40, pretty much middle age now. But you're middle age denial. That's what you're in denial about being in middle age. But then you'll hit 40 and that's when you're like, I accept it. Maybe I don't accept it, but I have to live with it. And then you hit 50? Man. But if I think about like, okay, because I'm 36 now, and if I think about how much I changed from 20 to 36, how much happened in those years? It was a lot happened. And then what, the same distance, 36 to 52, there's a lot more that could happen. Maybe even more. Maybe I'll look back and think that really the most meaningful time of my life was between 36 and 52, not 20 and 36. Maybe. You never know. JS, you're experiencing time fastest here? I don't know. Yeah, people haven't all said their ages, but I'm assuming, JS, you're a bit older than me. I remember joking about Lorelai, thinking that you were like a 55-year-old Finnish woman or something. You just have the granny vibe. Okay, not that 55 is a granny. Look, this is dangerous. You have to be careful when you start talking about age and whatever, but yeah. You're close to 55 than 50? You are an experienced gamer. What's that? There's like an Aslan quote that says like, I was there when the magic was written. That's you, JS. You were there when when the first computer chips were created. When what is it? When assembly code was written. You started gaming on a C64. There's a YouTuber from Dallas who does these like retro gaming videos. I can't remember the name of his channel, but he's like maybe mid 50s or so. I don't know, maybe 60. And yeah, he started this computer gaming channel where he like makes Commodore 60. He like refurbishes Commodore 64 units and like talks about their history. and he even made a video game for it. And now he's opened a physical arcade for playing old games in Texas. Um, and yeah, he's yeah, it's I found him because I also like to watch restoration videos. But anyways, okay, wait, hold on. I'm missing some of what you guys are saying. And DV, we are the same age-ish. Yuhamnus being another pagan holiday, Christianity took over. Not that it shows here. Yeah. I like that we still have holidays that kind of, that go back beyond Christianity. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, Lorelei, you got to be careful with those e-scooters, all right? And Elon, yeah, the sun rising at 3. This morning, I woke up at 4, and I was worried I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep because there's so much light outside. And I don't have blackout curtains, so like I'm okay sleeping with some light in the room. But I was thinking, I was like, oh no. But I was able to fall back asleep, thankfully. 4 a.m. would be too early. I typically wake up sometime between like 5:30 and 7. Like this morning, I woke because I woke up at 4. I fell back asleep. I didn't wake up till 6:40, and I remember thinking, "Oh man, this is late," because I'm used to waking up at like 5:40, and then I can start working on things around 6 or so. But I take a break in the middle of the day to exercise and eat. But I like to work first thing in the morning. There's something that I don't know. It helps put my brain at ease if I do stuff at first thing in the morning rather than putting things off and being like, oh my gosh, it's already the afternoon and I haven't worked. But yeah, and Copenhagen is a better system for the scooters. The parking spaces are really limited and inconvenient, so no one uses them. Yeah, I mean, I am not I don't want to become so ideological. I would like to believe that there is some way scooters could be incorporated into a healthy, functioning public transportation system. They clearly, people are attracted to scooters instead of bikes, or maybe one or the other, depending on the type of trip or whatever, personal preference. But so it could be a good option, but the way that they're being offered now is just really obnoxious. Old at 50, you feel young at mind. Good, JS. I'm glad to hear that. That's encouraging. 50 is several years behind for you. Oh, you have the wisdom of the ancients, JS. I'm imagining, who is it? Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, the wise whatever turtle. Is that you? You're so content now, JS. Glad to hear that. You imagine me streaming and reading actual non-Selco news articles at 52. Maybe I am going to retire from the Finnish language. Not even, yeah. Oh, it is the 8-bit guy. That's his name, DV. Thank you. 8-bit guy. There is this, my favorite video on his channel is a video he did that was he did a day in the life in it, or his daily routine. And there's something so wonderful about it. Because he's he's such he's not a weird guy. I don't want to give this impression, but like what's the word? Like he just has such a vibe that I love. Like there's in as part of as part of his daily routine, he would go like he goes for a run in his Jurassic Park t-shirt and jeans. And I love it. I love that like and the I think also the way it's filmed is so like it couldn't be more perfect. It's like his wife is filming him from across the pond with him off in the distance like running. And I'm just like I'm so glad this exists. Like this is what I want. This is the kind of content I want to consume. This is what YouTube was made for. 8-bit guy, man. He's a legend. Yes, you wake up at 8 to 9. Something about something. Oh, what are you saying in Finnish now, JS? Yeah, I can read a little bit of that, but it's like we have to go back to Finnish because I'm vibing with you guys in chat for too long. You thought 8-bit guy was British. I mean, he sounds very American to me from his accent. And I know he lives in Dallas. So of course, I don't know where he was originally born. 8-bit music theory. Ah, okay, maybe I don't know that. Or maybe I have seen that channel, but I don't know. 8-bit guy is the one I was thinking. Okay, back to the news. Hold on, hydration break. Summer makes me so thirsty. I'm like always, I feel like I drink so much more water in summer. I think I also drink just more water than the average person. Have you ever like spent time with a friend and then they didn't drink any water and you're like, I've had like 2 liters of water. This, like if you spend an extended period with a friend and they don't really drink much water and you're like, how are you surviving? All right, here we go. Let's get back into it. We translated this one, right? Yeah. The law regarding electric scooters has changed today. Poliisi voi jatkossa tarkistaa sähköpotkulaudan kuljettajan iän. The police can, or the police may. I have no idea. I've never seen this word before. Ian. Which surprises me because it looks like such a simple word. Is it ika for age? But the K disappears because now it's genitive? Kuljettajan. These are words I should know. Kuljettaja is a... Is it sort of like the police can now enforce the age limit or something like that? Here, let's translate it. The police will be able to check the age of the driver of an electric scooter. Okay, the driver. Ah, okay. Kuljettaja. Ikä. It is. See, aren't you proud of me, guys? The fact that I used big brain logic to see that word and say, actually, it might be ikä, which is age. I feel like I'm on the verge of a breakthrough into the Finnish language. Like I can almost get it. I just can't quite get it fast enough or in the right order. And hey, Omni, welcome in. But yeah, so the police and this Jatkossa, Tarkista, this Jatkossa thing is confusing me. They will be able to check the age of the driver. I guess is Tarkista, is that to like check? Yeah, to check. And then, oh yeah, Jatkossa. This is, I was like, oops. That's how you know I'm on a Mac. I don't even know how I did that. What button was that? Nope, never mind. I'm just pressing buttons now. In the future, we're going forward. Yeah, that's it. Police can, going forward, check the e-scooter's driver's age. Yeah, from now on. Yeah, thank you, DV. Kuljettajan pitää olla vähintään 15-vuotias. The driver must be at least 15 years old. Right? Is that what vähintään means? Yeah, the driver must be at least 15 years old. Thank you, DV. Tulevaisuudessa means in the future, not including the present. But jatkossa means in like from now onward. So yeah, including the current moment. The 15-year limit is funny as earlier, the rental firms had a rule that you must be 18 years old to rent the scooter, but they couldn't really enforce it. It's kind of like, it's almost like Grand Theft Auto, where they're like, we rated it M, you know, it's not, we're not making it for little kids, you know, but it's like, you know, a bunch, like, so many 13-year-old boys played Grand Theft Auto. Nonetheless. But also, I feel like when I first played Vice City, it was more tame than later versions. It's almost cute to look back at how bad it was when it was like it was like cartoony, you know. It wasn't like nowadays games are so like hyper realistic. It's kind of like if you put the same content in such a hyper realistic, I don't know, visual, it carries a lot more weight to it than more comical, like little polygons running around on screen, you know. But I digress. Poliisi voi myös testata, onko kuljettaja jo juonut alkoholia tai käyttänyt huumeita. The police can also test if the driver has consumed alcohol or has used drugs. I'm so confident of that translation, I'm not even gonna do the web browser Google Translate. Sähköpotkulauttaa ei saa ajaa, jos veren alkoholipitoisuus on 0, comma. How do you say a comma? Like, we would say 0.5. Nolla piste. It's not piste, right? Pilku. Pilku. Thank you, JS and EV. And huume are illegal drugs. But okay, 0,5 promillea tai yli. What? Okay, hold on. So it's saying an e-scooter cannot be driven if, or it's sort of like one cannot drive an e-scooter. Maybe that's the better translation. It's sort of like one does not get to drive an e-scooter if the blood's alcohol level is 0.5 promille. 0.5 per. How do we even say this in English? Like your blood alcohol level is, we just use the number. We don't have another, like, we don't say percent. It's just like, it's a blood alcohol level of like 0.07 or whatever, right? But I'm guessing mille is like 1,000, like from the Latin. So I don't know what, so, or above. So this is the level of alcohol. Imperial units confusing again. There's a butterfly named Comma. What? Okay, let's take here. Per meal. So instead of percent, it's 0.5 per 1,000. But yeah, the police can also test whether the driver's been drinking alcohol or using drugs. You may not ride an electric scooter if your blood alcohol level is 0.5 per meal or higher. Why do I feel like... How does it compare to like driving, like a car? Is this more or less? I feel like this is a different system. 0.5. Why do I think it's... For some reason, I thought like 0.05 is a lot. Like you can't drive past 0.07. So that's why I'm like 0.5 sounds like a lot, but it's a different unit, right? Is that like the imperial versus... I didn't even know that it was something was imperial or not. Yeah, if your level is 1%, you might be dead. Wait a second, per 100. Okay, look, let me use my big brain mathematics. Per 100 would be 0.05. Per 1,000, so it is multiplied by 10, then would be 0.5. 0.5 is the same as a 0.5 per meal is 0.05%. Right? Is that how math works? Yeah, you guys are helping me out here. It's not an imperial thing. Okay, that's what I was pretty sure it wasn't like that. I got it. But I mean, the problem was I didn't know that it was percent to begin with. We just say blood alcohol level of 0.05 or 0.07. We don't even think like to say percent, because we don't do any of these nonsense little shenanigans throwing out different... I mean, well, let me ask you guys, is this the standard way to say it in Finnish, using per 1,000? I mean, are we talking about, like toxins in the water basin, you know, like PFAS parts per billion or something, you know, like, come on. What are we, water science? Are we liquid scientists? We're just talking about blood alcohol levels. But the circles are in love? What? Promille isn't usually mentioned either. Finns like to be familiar with their level of intoxication. I mean, there is that famous clip from the Finnish cops or police show where there's that guy riding his bike home and he's like really drunk and the police try to stop him, but he can't stop the bicycle for some reason. And his butt is hanging out because his pants are falling down while he's riding the bike. And the police just laugh. They're like trying to offer him a ride home or something. They just laugh and kind of follow him to make sure he doesn't wreck or get injured. A moving slot machine. Sähköpotkulautojen säännöt ovat tiukentuneet. So yeah, the e-scooter regulations have tightened. Skuuteille on sattunut viime aikoina paljon vakavia onnettomuuksia. What is this? Something about scooters. 4 scooters. There have gotten last time a lot of vakavia. Vakava. I should know what vakava means. It means strong, right? Or is that vahava? Vakava. They got something. Restrict, maybe? Onnettomuuksia. Something, some type of change or something. This is actually the hardest sentence in the whole thing. I don't know how to translate that. There have been many serious accidents involving scooters recently. Okay. So vakavia is serious. And onnettomuuksia, that's accidents? Many serious accidents recently viime aikoina. That's what I was trying to translate viime as last. But it's sort of like in the previous time, like in recent times. There have been many serious accidents involving scooters recently. The epidemic was avoidable. In the past, people knew how to store food and keep hands clean, so cooking your food thoroughly and wash hands before eating was something not decades ago. Wait, what? Oh, is it this thing? I haven't gotten to this. I see epidemia. I haven't read that one yet. I'll get to it here in a second on. In Vahava. Yeah, okay, DV. During last times. Viime aikoina. During last times. Doesn't really make sense in English. It makes it sound like it was a long time ago. Like the land before time. Dinosaurs. Or maybe in the future, DV. Like when we say in English, we have the end times. Or the book of Revelation and how the Antichrist comes to power and the rapture happens. I read a whole book series about the rapture. It was crazy. Just like all the Christians, all the believers just get physically raptured. They disappear and go to heaven. And the rest of the world is like, what the crap? We have discussed this, Lorelai says. Yeah, I know I've mentioned it before. But what's crazy about it is like it sounds like something that would be in like a science fiction or fantasy, like Like, so clearly made up. But like, I mean, there are millions of adults who believe it, who believe that, yeah, God's gonna rapture us. Not all Christians believe like in the physical rapture, to be fair, but I mean, a lot of the ones I grew up with did, you know. To a very secular Lutheran, the rapture is a really bizarre thing, DV. You know, it's kind of like you haven't experienced Christianity until you've been born again in the American evangelical tradition. All right, you will like we know how to turn the notch to 11, right? Everything about the Bible, we dial it up. Like we are many things, but we aren't boring. That's what I'll say about American evangelicals. You aren't going to be bored. We yeah, we'll preach about the end times. We'll sing and dance. We'll have a worship band on a stage that looks like it's a stadium with television screens and multi-million dollar camera equipment set up and like basically like highly skilled TV operators. Oh man. Was there a rapture in every book, JF? No. The first book deals with the rapture. Like the rapture happens and then the characters of the book are, I mean, there's two versions. There's the adult version and then the children's like book series. And it's basically like the characters are like non-believers who are piecing together what happened. And they're figuring out that, oh, it was all the Christians who were believers, and many of them, and like some of the kids I remember, like they were given the opportunity to confess and convert to Christianity, but they didn't do it for some reason, and they deeply regret that. And now they have to figure out how to get, I don't know, how to live a good life in the end times. And there's like on the news, the Antichrist is coming to power. People are getting microchips planted in them that have the number of the beast, right? Because that's in the book of Revelation, the number of the beast. And so it's like taking a lot of the imagery and ideas from the book of Revelation and like putting it in like, when were the books published? I think it was like around 2001 or so, right? With 2001 technology and whatever. That's what those books were like. And there was the adult version with like adult characters, but I never read those. I didn't read all the kids ones though. My little sister did. There's like 37 books or something. It's crazy. I read like the first probably 7 books. The older you've become, the stronger atheism has become, JS. I'm almost, you know what? I'm almost at a point where I would want to join a cult just for the social vibes. like, like I don't even care. The supernatural stuff isn't as important to me. I just want to vibe with cool people. All right. It's like I'm half joking. All right. I wonder if we would die like flies if another ice age would occur. You would try to move to a warmer country, Onni. There's no adult version of the books as it's sometimes understood. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, there's some like there's some funny and crazy things out there. You find all kinds of spirituality really interesting, DV? Yeah, I definitely enjoy learning about what different cultures believed, right? Like learning about like the ancient myths and beliefs of especially like civilizations that aren't around anymore, you know? That's really fascinating. Like what would it have been like to teleport back in time to a Mayan festival, you know, or some religious ceremony or something? How cool. Or even I mean, who's to say like there's stuff that we will never know because it's been lost to time from like maybe 100,000 years ago, right? Like maybe people had sort of what we consider like religious beliefs and stories that they passed, you know, around the campfire to each other. Uh, to be privy to that would be really interesting. Yeah. Kind of mood, but maybe the Tylerian cult. Yeah, Lorelei. I think maybe I need to become the religious, charismatic, millionaire leader that I was born to be. All right. I was not put on this earth to be productive. All right. I was put here to entertain. And no one is more entertaining than a charismatic leader. All right. Everybody come together in my cult. It'll be. Actually, I don't think I would make a good charismatic leader. You liked religion in school and you learned generally about religions, JS? Well, I mean, my schools, they taught one religion. All right. We only learned Christianity. Or if we did learn about world religions, it was like, yeah, they're all wrong. And Lorelai, you were atheist when you were confirmed, which is a bit of an oxymoron. But I guess when if you're confirmed at a pretty young age, and maybe I think also in Finland, like you can sort of get confirmed without having to profess lots of beliefs, right? Like it's more, it can also be like a cultural thing, not like, oh, you also have to sign almost like you're signing a contract about what you believe or not believe. Now you started imagining Tylerianists planting parsnips in Tyler's garden. Well, DV, I hate to break the news to you, but I no longer have the garden. And that has honestly been such a liberating feeling. I was worried that when I gave the garden back to the allotment, whatever, you know, to give to the next person in line, that I was thinking, am I giving up the garden just out of frustration and I'm gonna regret this? Or is this actually something that's coming from my core values? And I'm very glad I gave it up. I'm like so relieved. I I don't have the time or the energy to learn to enjoy gardening. And I felt like, yeah, I wasn't it wasn't right. Yeah, what is the correct answer? uh, I don't have the garden. I gave it away. I'm glad. It was too much. Here, hold on one second. Take a quick break. Yeah, the long story short, DV was just that it was taking. I realized it was taking a lot of time and effort, and I wasn't really. I wasn't enjoying doing it. Like, not that every hobby should be always fun, but I realized I wasn't having any fun, and it wasn't as social as I was hoping. And I realized in order to like garden, I feel like I need to learn from somebody, and I didn't really have any, teacher or mentor, a garden mentor, or just to even friends to help. It was like something I had to do all on my own. And uh, and also it can be quite expensive. That was the other thing. And if you don't spend a lot of money on your garden, then you have to spend a lot of time. Because like if you spend money on it, that can help prevent weeds. It can also help increase the yields, because you can put weed berries down. But if you put weed berries down, then you have to put like compost on it. And to put compost on it, you probably also need like those planter boxes. There are multiple ways to do it, but even just purchasing compost and like mulch and stuff is like so expensive. Not to mention the delivery, because I don't have a car. I was just kind of feeling overwhelmed, and like all the plants, every vegetable has its own schedule that you almost have to like pay attention to, like they're little toddlers or something. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care that much about eating parsnips. Now it's like I will gladly pay a little extra to buy stuff at the grocery store. Because gardening was not something I think, like if I did it, I don't know, with other people, I could learn it and enjoy it more, and maybe be more confident having my own garden, but it was too much. Yeah, Tyler's core value, no gardening. Oh, Ani, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, you visited your dad's house a year after he passed away. You were physically alone, but spiritually anything but alone. You can't say you were scared, more irritated. Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, I thought I was, at first I thought it was gonna be like a comforting thing, but you were irritated. Well, at least you weren't scared. Sorry to hear that. Um, and yeah, confirmation age is between grade 8 and 9 now. Edgy teens be like, what, Lorelai? And it's like I know it's a big deal here in Finland to sort of get confirmed with your friends, because it's like you go to a confirmation camp, and like there's nothing kids want more than summer camp. Honestly, I don't think there's anything adults want more. I want to go to summer camp. Summer camp was the best. Like just, oh man. Like every year I would have a Boy Scout summer camp. I looked forward to that so much. That was also like the first time I had ever spent like that much time away from my parents' home. When I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And I went to my first summer camp. And I was like, oh my God, I'm spending a whole week away. And I remember counting the days like it was an eternity. Even though I was having a lot of fun, when you're that young, you naturally have this, fear, right? And you're like, oh. And I remember it was Wednesday, and I was like, I'm only halfway done. I feel like crying. I remember lying on my cot in my tent, just thinking, and it was so hot too. Like in Texas in the summer, it's like 40 degrees Celsius. It's just like, and just thinking, oh my God, I just need to survive till Sunday, and then I can go home. But yeah, your illusion of Tyler living the IRL Stardew life has been shattered. Look, I'll say Stardew does not accurately portray the real trials and tribulations of growing crops. You can't click your mouse and immediately a tile is tilled. You like the idea that you can just go out and till like whole acres of land by hand with a little hoe tool in a few hours in game. It's just the most unrealistic, like that's like days of manual labor, if not weeks, you know. Oh man. And then you just go out there and you water it. And not just that, but the plants grow within like days, you know. Whereas in real life you got to wait months. They're like, come on, get out of here. And DV, the other problem with it was that uh it was taking like time and energy from my other hobbies. I realized that if I was gonna work on the garden, I wouldn't have time to go for long runs or to go for walks in the forest. And I kind of just felt like, no, I don't want to give up those things. Yeah, like I remember distinctly working on the garden and thinking how much I would rather be walking in the forest than than pulling weeds out of the dirt. uh, yeah, and I was just like, why? So wait, why am I doing this? I mean, it was my choice to get the garden. Like, I'm not doing this. It's not. It doesn't even make economic sense because it's so expensive to try to grow. Like, yeah. But that's why I was like, yeah, no, it needs to be more. It needs to be more chill, and I don't know how to garden in a chill way without help. I mean, maybe if I had one box to grow in, and then it would be more feasible. But because the way the gardens are set up, it's like it's all or nothing. You have the whole plot, and you pretty much have to maintain it. And I don't know, mentally, I didn't want to keep it just to have like one little box on it with growing vegetables. It just felt wrong, so I was like, I'll let someone else have it. It's not like you need an Excel spreadsheet. This is part of the problem, DV. I tried. I made Excel spreadsheets for my garden, and I realized this is ridiculous because the number of things I wanted to grow and the different growing times, and like, oh, if you plant it, don't plant it outside, grow it indoors. And I don't want to like grow the seedlings in a tray in my apartment. I don't know. And I just want to plant stuff in the ground and grow. And then also, there are lots of rabbits that will literally come and just mow your crops down. Like, and so then it's like, oh wait, so now I also have to purchase like wire fencing to go around it if I want to grow, stuff with like not that you have to do all these things, but it's sort of like if you're putting all the time and energy into it, you might as well spend the money to protect it. But then it's like that does add up to be quite a lot. And I just thought, yeah, no, I just need to, what is the word? Reduce the number of things I'm doing in life. Like focus on other stuff. You skipped your confirmation stuff, JS. You had a little bigger 15-year-old birthday for you. You went to the summer Christian summer camp, Lorelei. It was fun, but you didn't become a Christian. You missed out. Like that's one thing I will fondly remember, despite I know the brainwashing of my school. That every year we would have a retreat for a weekend, and it was like the most fun. It was just like you would be out there, you'd be at some camp, and you'd have and it wasn't like Boy Scouts, where in Boy Scouts you're like sleeping in a tent, like very uncomfortable. Whereas like we would go to some camp where they had like a cabin, and you would have like a little bed, not anything comfy, but like bunk beds. And it was like so fun. Then you would like play games, and we would have like praise and worship. That's what we called it. Praise and worship is basically when someone would have an acoustic guitar, and they would play the guitar. We would sit around like it was a little kumbaya circle, and we would be like singing worship songs. And like I distinctly remember what it was like to be young and to believe, to like really deep down believe, you know, in God and spirits, and like there's something that like there's something that like you know, you believe that the Holy Spirit is there, and you're like, you're almost like, it's almost like you're becoming one with the universe, you know, because you're so deeply. I think that's also like, isn't that like such a common human experience, right? Like that's why we have so many religions, that at so many points in history people have had those feelings about the universe and there being something bigger and what that bigger something is. But man, it was intoxicating and fun. But and we would play like flag football, American football, obviously, right? But not tackle, because that's too dangerous without pads. So we'd have little flags on our hips, and you would have to grab the little flag, and then that would be, you know. Anyways, a lot of it was just so yeah. It was a fun time to be hanging out with all your friends from school, and I guess that's another positive thing I could say about it, is that I did have a good group of friends. Like the other kids that went to the school were really nice, you know? And so like a lot of the, I don't know, the cliques and the bullying and stuff that you see on TV, or like about, you know, bigger public schools or whatever, or I don't know. It wasn't like quite like that at our school. So it was like overall like a fun experience to reflect on, though it is weird to think like that. Yeah, no, now I don't, I'm not a believer. I've fallen. Maybe this is my strategy though, because I read those books about the rapture, and I'm so interested in what life is going to be like after the rapture happens. I am strategically not believing, so that when the rapture does happen, then I'll be around to witness all the cool stuff that happens, right? And I'll also be like a prophet, because I'll be like, yo, I know what happened, and I can explain to other people, and then we can form like a new group of believers. Look, I'm playing the long game, okay? Like, if you think about it, if you're going to spend eternity in heaven anyway, you might as well try to stay on Earth as long as you can, right? I mean, I guess the end times are supposed to be like really awful, so maybe you don't want to be around for that. But yeah, fun. My speakers are doing a weird thing again. I don't know. You guys can hear the music fine, but the way it plays in my headphones is like kind of... Oh well, it's not worth fixing. Oh, yeah. I know we're going past... I'm going to have to end the stream soon, so we're not going to read this last article. Although I do want to translate this, the title. What was this? Gastroenteritis epidemic in nature parks. There's a... Oh, I saw this in the news. There's a stomach disease in some of the nature parks. Wait, what's causing it? That was on, you had commented about it earlier. About something about like not washing hands or something. But yeah. DV, you had your confirmation camp in spring and you went to Lapland skiing. Pretty cool. And confirmation is ripiaiset. Is that the Finnish word for it? Probably. Most kids go for the money and presents and peer pressure. You see, for me, I was baptized twice, because in Catholicism you have your infant baptism. It's like it's like being Lutheran in a way. Lutheran is closer to Catholicism than it is to other Protestant the Protestant non-denominational whatever that I grew up in. Because in the non-denominational world, it's like anti-child baptism, and there's no first communion. Children can take the communion at any age. You don't get baptized as a baby, but you can take communion at any age. But the communion isn't wine; it's just grape juice. And this varies. Okay, not all evangelical churches are like this, but from what I remember, non-denominational evangelical, and then you have your baptism like a confirmation. So it's like that's when you would sort of confirm yourself in the church. That's when you get baptized. So because I was born Catholic, I was baptized as an infant, but then my parents became non-denominational. I got a second baptism because the first one was like, oh, it doesn't really count. You didn't get to choose for yourself. Now you get to choose to be baptized. I think it's also because like in the Bible, the baptisms are of like adults coming to Jesus. So it like having, well, I mean, you're not an adult when you're like what, 12 or 13, but like you're of the age of intellect that you can decide. Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember if I got any money, or I probably did get some presents, but it wasn't like a big thing. I don't know. It's more of a big thing here in Finland to have confirmation, like almost like a confirmation party. Yes, you weren't baptized as a baby. Please explain christening versus baptizing versus confirmation. Well, christening is when you get your name. And so a lot of this is like more like, what is it? Orthodox. Like non-denominational churches kind of reject a lot of orthodoxy in favor of just like reading the Bible and, you know, and basing everything off of that, you know, reading the Bible literally, sort of rejecting the traditions that over time, unless the tradition is obviously rooted in the Bible, it's like, yeah, no, we're gonna get rid of that, or we're gonna redo it. But yeah, christening is sort of like you get your name, and often involves the baptism, I think, or like Catholicism, but is not really a thing. And I don't remember. It does like depend. It can vary. And confirmation then is more like you're not getting baptized, but you're like agreeing to join the church, right? Like you're kind of confessing your beliefs. But even that might not be a good explanation if it's different here in Finland. Yeah, Lorelei, I'm more like a Baptist in that sense, or I was like that, I guess. Baptism is kaste, christening is ristiaiset, confirmation is confirmatio. Yeah. But yeah, the baptizing, and actually, I mean, baptism is a very controversial idea within the Protestant or whatever evangelical tradition. Like churches will argue about it, about how it's done, what counts. It's surprisingly a point of such disagreement that churches have completely disassociated from each other, or like churches have split, and you get schisms. Like there's a new Church of Christ and a different type of Baptist church, you know, like that, based on these subtle differences. They might believe in almost everything the same, but then they're like they disagree on a few finer details of baptism. Like it's enough for them to, like, you know, have to do it their own way. We didn't get the norovirus article today. Yeah. Like, you guys got me going off on tangents. I blame you. All right, but you're getting a few extra minutes with me. All right, I'm normally 9 o'clock is a hard stop, but I've been going a little extra for you because, you know, I'm making up for the lack of Finnish. Though you're a member of a church, Ani, you wouldn't christen your baby, only a name-giving ceremony, and then later on, if your child wants a christening, it can be arranged. Actually, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard of a christening for an adult. Like baptism can be for infants and adults. Confirmation can only be for adults, or I guess young, like adolescents, you know. Um, but christening, I feel like, is always something that's done when you're an infant, and that's sort of when you receive what's called your Christian name. Actually, well, let's see on Wiktionary, how do they define it? Christening. The Christian sacrament at which someone, usually a child, is baptized and given a Christian name. It's also used to describe like inappropriate things as well. like when if you build a new house and somebody uses the toilet for the first time, you might say, I christened the toilet. It's, yeah. So a toilet can also be christened. Use that when you visit America and you want to show off your command of the English language. You know, you go to a coffee shop and come out of the bathroom and tell the coffee shop worker that you christened the toilet. At which point, I hope they respond, no, you haven't. It's already been christened 1,000 times. Oh, man. And yeah, Luther had specific issues with Catholicism. I was born into a Catholic family. True. Do you pay taxes to church in the States only if you're a member? No. No. There are no taxes associated with religion at all. There's no, I mean, the only thing is churches don't pay taxes. So churches don't pay taxes. They have they're separate, but churches don't get tax dollars. I don't think so. I don't know. There could be a case where like maybe a government helps maintain a building or something like this. But it wouldn't be like the church is receiving tax funds. It's not like in Finland. That really surprised me when I came here, and I was like, are you serious? People willingly give like 2% of their like gross income to a church they never go to? I'm like, look, I'm all for like protecting the history and culture, but like shouldn't we do that like any other thing we protect? Like why do we tax 2% is a lot. That seems like way too much to like preserve the culture, or like I don't know, maybe like I don't know. It's a political thing. I understand some people are okay with it. It doesn't bother me because I don't pay the tax. But maybe it is also like an opportunity cost kind of thing. Is that how we should spend our tax money? I guess there's worse things to spend money on. You know, you could be pumping money into Lime scooters. Oh. Take the blame, TV. There's a term in Finnish, kissan ristiaiset, about irrelevant, non-important celebrations. A cat's christening. Is that what that means? In Finnish, many would use korkata, to cork, open a bottle. Korkkasin uuden vessamme tänään. Oh, like, so for the toilet, you corked the toilet. Although in English that has like the opposite, because like in English, to cork a bottle, my understanding, is to put a cork into the bottle, right? Like during the wine production process, you're putting the cork in the bottle. So to cork a toilet would mean you really blocked it up like bad, you know? Like you blocked it up so bad. Someone's got to get in there with a drill. Like there is no amount of acid toilet bowl cleaner that's gonna dissolve that. All right. That's good. Oh, where has this conversation gone? Hey, at least I'm learning some Finnish. Korkata. Thank you. Institutions paying church taxes? Wait, I didn't know that institutions paid the tax as well. I thought it was just individuals who are members, but that would be kind of weird. That's where we went today. But yeah, I'm gonna have to call it for today. We'll pick it back up next Tuesday with some more Finnish language learning. And yeah, thank you all for yeah, on a high note, right? Thanks all for joining the stream today and humoring me. It's a good weekly check-in with you guys. I'm still motivated to learn Finnish. Yeah, we'll be back every Tuesday. We do this, if you're new and you're watching, at 7 p.m. Finland time. We practice a little Finnish and then mostly ramble about other stuff in English. But hey, you know, that's just how it is sometimes. And I also do a gaming stream if you guys want to join for that. We're almost done with Terraria. We're gonna probably we're gonna fight the final boss on Thursday. I've been told I won't beat the boss, but at least I think, you know, we'll start fighting the boss and learning and, I don't know, leveling up or something to be able to beat him. Moon Lord. And yeah, and then after that I haven't decided, but I'm getting the itch to play Stardew again, so we might do that as well. That's on Thursdays. I do a gaming stream, and sometimes other days of the week if I got the energy. But yeah, you're not gonna join. Oh yeah, next week is after Midsummer, so maybe some of you will be away. But yeah, thank you guys for joining, and yeah, happy Midsummer wherever you are in the world. I guess midwinter, maybe, if you're in the southern hemisphere. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna make a dumb joke about Christmas, but honestly, you know what? Sometimes we have to censor ourselves. Okay, I have that dad joke streak in me, but even then, I have limits. Okay. A jolly midsummer to you down in Australia. Put another shrimp on the barbie. Yeah. I really do need to end this. This is just turning into so cringe. Yeah, have a good rest of your Tuesday, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.